The Irish, who made their debut on November 23, 1887, began their season with an 8-0 upset of Michigan. Their first win came in the final game of the 1888 season, a 20-0 win over Harvard Prep School in Chicago. By the end of the 1888 season, they had a 1-3 record, all of which came against Michigan. Between 1887 and 1899, Notre Dame had 31 wins, 15 losses, and 4 ties against a variety of opponents, from local high school teams to other universities. In 1894, James L. Morrison took over as Notre Dame's first head coach, and this was a major step in the school's rise to prominence, importance, and stability. Morrison wrote to an acquaintance after his start, "I came here, Notre Dame, this morning, and I have never seen so many football recruits. They want to smoke, and when I told them they had to run and catch their breath, they thought I was joking. One strong man said it was too much work. Believe me, I blew it to him. I am 100% sure no one will ever make such a comment again." In a 1908 win over Franklin, Fay Wood caught the first touchdown pass in Notre Dame history. Notre Dame continued its success at the turn of the century, winning for the first time in 1909 against Michigan, 11-3. After that game, Michigan refused to play Notre Dame for 33 years. By the end of the 1912 season, they had 108 wins, 31 losses, and 13 ties. Jesse Harper became head coach in 1913 and coached the team for 5 years until his retirement in 1917. During this period, the Irish began playing only intercollegiate games and had a record of 34 wins, 5 losses, and 1 tie. This period was also significant in the beginning of the rivalry with Army and the continuation of the rivalry with Michigan State. In his first season, Harper arranged games with national powers, such as Texas, Penn State, and Army, to enhance the reputation of a respected but small-scale Midwestern football program. That year, Notre Dame entered the national consciousness and helped transform the college game with a single game. On November 1, 1913, Notre Dame surprised everyone by defeating the Black Knights of Hudson 35-13 in a game played at West Point. Led by quarterback Gus Dorais and Knut Rockne, Notre Dame put the Cadets in a difficult position with a strong running game and Dorais's long, accurate passes to Rockne. This game is often mistakenly credited with the invention of the forward pass, as before this, receivers would pause to wait for the ball. In this game, Dorais made a pass to Rockne as he ran, transforming the forward pass from a rare play into the dominant strategy it is today. Irish assistant Knut Rockne became head coach in 1918. During his 13 years, the Irish won 3 national championships, had 5 undefeated seasons, won the Rose Bowl in 1925, and produced players such as George Gipp and the Four Horsemen. Rockne's offenses employed the Notre Dame box, and his defenses ran a 7-2-2 scheme. Rockne took over in the war-torn season of 1918. He made his coaching debut on September 28, 1918, against Case Tech in Cleveland, Ohio, and earned a 26-6 victory. Leonard Behan, George Gipp, and Curly Lambeau were in the backfield. With Gipp, Rockne had an ideal handler of the forward pass. The Irish posted a 3-1-2 record for the season, losing only to the Michigan Agricultural Aggies. The 1919 team had Rockne handle the line and Gus Dorais handle the backfield. The Irish went undefeated and were one of 4 teams to be selected for the national championship, although Notre Dame does not claim it. George Gipp died at age 25 on December 14, 1920, just 2 weeks after Walter Camp elected him as Notre Dame's first All-American. Gipp likely contracted strep throat and pneumonia while giving punting lessons after his final game on November 20th against Northwestern. Since antibiotics were not available in the 1920s, treatment options for such infections were limited, and they could be fatal even to young, healthy individuals. Rockne was speaking to Gipp on his hospital bed when he was purported to have delivered the famous "Win One for the Gipper" line. Roger Kiley John Mohart led the 1921 Notre Dame team to a 10-1 record with 781 rushing yards, 995 passing yards, 12 rushing touchdowns, and 9 passing touchdowns. Grantland Rice wrote that Mohart could throw the ball to within a foot or two of any given space. and noted that the 1921 Notre Dame team was the first team we know of to build its attack around a forward passing game, rather than use a forward passing game as a mere aid to the running game. Mohart had both Eddie Anderson and Roger Kiley at end to receive his passes. The national champion 1924 team included the four horsemen backfield of Harry Stuhldraher, Don Miller, Jim Crowley, and Elmer Layden. The line was known as the Seven Mules. The Irish capped an undefeated 10-0 season with a victory over Stanford in the Rose Bowl. The 1926 team beat Army and was led by Christy Flanagan, but was undone by a loss to Carnegie Tech in the penultimate game of the season. In this game, Rockne made what an Associated Press writer called one of the greatest coaching blunders in history by traveling to Chicago for the Army-Navy game to write newspaper articles about it, as well as select an All-America football team. Carnegie Tech used the coach's absence as motivation for a 19-0 win. The upset likely cost the Irish a chance for a national title. 1926 South Shoreline broadside advertising entertainment, such as Notre Dame football games, to encourage use of the railroad between Chicago and South Bend. The 1928 team lost to national champion Georgia Tech. I sat at Grant Field and saw a magnificent Notre Dame team suddenly recoil before the furious pounding of one-man Peter Pund, said Rockne. Nobody could stop him. I counted 20 scoring plays that this man ruined. Among the events that occurred during Rockne's tenure, none may be more famous than the Rockne's win one for the Gipper speech. Army came into the 1928 matchup undefeated and was the clear favorite. Notre Dame, on the other hand, was having their worst season under Rockne's leadership and entered the game with a 4-2 record. At the end of the half, Army was leading and looked to be in command of the game. Rockne entered the locker room and gave his account of Gip's final words. "I've got to go, Rock. It's all right. I'm not afraid. Sometime, Rock, when the team is up against it, when things are going wrong and the breaks are beating the boys, tell them to go in there with all they've got and win just one for the Gipper. I don't know where I'll be then, Rock, but I'll know about it, and I'll be happy." The speech inspired the team, and they went on to upset Army and win the game 12-6. The 1929 and 1930 teams both went undefeated, winning national championships, and the 1930 team was led by the likes of Frank Caridio, Joe Savoldi, Marchie Schwartz, and Marty Brill. It featured the first and only example of all four members of a backfield being named to an All-American team during the same season. The 1929 team played all of its games on the road while the new Notre Dame Stadium was being built. 66. In 1930, Jumping Joe Savoldi scored the first Notre Dame touchdown in the new stadium on a 98-yard kickoff return.